Hi guys, today I will be showing you how to make this 3D snake, and the one I'm making with you is this milk snake. You could also make this coral snake if you want, and you can make it your snake whatever color you want, and also you can make the belly a different color just using a single band down one side of your design. You'll need about 200 bands, give or take, for the snake, depending on how long you want it, and this is about the length of your loom. So let's get started. You're going to need your loom in any configuration, as long as we're working in the part where there's a hole in the back, because we're going to pull our snake through the back. So we're using 5 pegs, so any 5 pegs you want to do with the hole in the back. We'll start with our first color. Mine will be red. I'm making the milk snake. So starting with the head, I'm taking a single red and crossing it over, covering 4 pegs, making an X in the center. So taking a single band, and we're crossing it over like that. So each peg should have a single band with it crossing over in the center. The next set, we're taking a single band, mine will be red, and I'm coming straight across from peg to peg, and we're going to add the eyes. So taking a single band, we're going to loop it 4 times on a hook. We'll do that twice because we have 2 eyes, taking another single black and looping it 4 times on a hook like that. Now taking a single red and pulling those looped bands onto the single red, only one of them, and we are attaching it on a loom. So I'm attaching it here and putting the other single band across like that, and then closing it off with the other eye. Again, getting a single band and pulling the eye right onto that single band and attaching it on the last 2 pegs. That closes up our first set 2 rows. So this is row number 1 and this is row number 2. And now we're going to take the bottom 2 bands and loop up and over to the center on each peg. Just go around your 5 pegs and loop up and over to the center and push it down. My third row, I'm using a single black, and we're covering all 5 pegs, just coming across without crossing it in the center like that. And once again, this is the same process. We're going to reach under, grab the bottom 2 bands and loop it up and over each peg to the center. Push it down. The next 2 rows we're doing whites. So taking single whites, and we are just coming across on each row. When you're done with that, grabbing the bottom 2 bands and loop up and over. And you're just going to repeat this pattern, alternating your color, making whatever pattern you want for your snake. My next color will be black, so I always have black, then white, white, black. So I had 2 whites, so I'm now covering with black. So once again, taking my single black, just coming across, and then looping the bottom 2 bands over. Push it down when you're done. Now my next set will be red for my milk snake. So my next 3 rows, so taking a single red and covering. So you're taking 5 single red rubber bands covering all 5 pegs, and then looping the bottom 2 bands up and over to the center. So that's my first set of red. Continue 2 more times, covering all 5 pegs. You always want to make sure there are 2 bands left on each peg before you loop your next set of bands. And right down below, you can pull it out if you want to help not be so cramped. That was our second row of red for that set. This is our last row of reds. The next set, we're going to repeat the black, white, white, black. So a single row of black. Push down. 2 single whites. So this is my first row of white. Remember, taking a single rubber band and covering all 5 pegs and looping the bottom 2 bands up and over to the center. Now what we want to do is we're going to reduce it to 4 pegs, making our snake tapered to the tail. So choose a peg, whichever one you want. I'm going to choose this for this one, and I'm going to pull a rubber band off like that, and I'm going to loop it over to the peg nearest to it. So the one end of this rubber band is looped onto this peg, so I'm going to loop it here. I'm not going to loop it back to this one. And taking the other one off of this 5th peg, and since the first half is looped onto this peg, I'm going to loop the other half onto this peg here. So now we're down to 4 pegs, and let's do the second white row for this pattern. So this is my second white. Now we want to reach under, grab the bottom 2 band, and some of them will have 3 because we reduced it. So grabbing the bottom 3 bands up and over to the center. So whenever we reduce, 2 pegs should have 3 bands and 2 should have 2 bands. So now we're down to 4 pegs. Continuing with our pattern, so we're on black now. Now we have 4 black bands covering 4 pegs, and that's what it should look like. And pushing all the whites, the bottom 2 bands down so I can see to loop up. So that's what it should look like. We are going to go under, grab the bottom 2 bands, and loop it up and over to the center. Push it down as you go, and our snake is coming to the bottom now. Let's continue. Our next set is the 3 reds, 3 rows of red, so taking 4 bands for each row. Just continuing the same pattern. covering all 4 pegs and then looping the bottom 2 up and over to the center. So row number 1, row number 2 for the red in this group. Row number 3 for my red. Now I'm doing my black, white, black again. Remember, a single row of black. Two rows of white. We're doing a row at a time with 4 bands covering the 4 pegs. Back to my black. Remember your pattern. If you want to make a solid snake, you can. And you can have the underbelly or his belly a different color if you want. On to my next set of reds. Each set of reds, I'm doing 3 rows. Or rings, 3 rings. Back to black, white, white, black. And we are going to reduce again soon to 3 rows. So we came from 5, we're down to 4, and we'll go to 3 soon. And you can make your snake longer if you want. Just make sure you always push down so you can see the 2 bands that you want to loop up and over. We're on to the red now. So in this group, we're going to reduce it to 3 pegs. So we'll do this row or this ring first, the first set. So the first red. Let's reduce to 3 pegs now. So once again, choose any peg you want, grab a band off of it, and see where one end loops. Loop it the other side to the other peg, so you're not looping it back onto itself. Grab the other peg, the other band off the 4th peg. The other side is looped onto this peg, so we're looping the second side onto this other peg. So now we are working with 3 pegs. Now we're working with 3 bands, so taking your bands and looping it on the 3 pegs. Once again, we're going to loop up and over, and the 2 we reduced, moving the bands to, should have 3 bands or 3 loops, and we're going to pull it up and over to the center, all 3 of them. And now each peg should have 2 bands on each. My last red, my last set. for red in this group, looping up and over, leaving only 2 loops per band, per peg. We're going to do black, white, white, black again for our pattern. Now we're down to, once again, 3 pegs. Our next set, 3 reds, 3 rings of reds, 3 bands each. Just repeat the pattern for reds 3 times. Back to black, white, white, black. Now once you get to this area, you should stop. If you're doing the belly of the snake a different color, you should probably stop and start making it a solid color. Or the same color as the back of the snake. My next set will be my last set of reds. So I'm only doing 2 rows, and you can continue your snake and make it as long as you want. I'm going to start, and I'm going to reduce it to 2 pegs soon. Taking my 3 sets of red, doing it 2 times now. And after this set, I'm going to do just red, just white and black. We're on our black now. 3 single black. Covering each peg. On this white, we're doing black, white, white. After this set, we are going to reduce it to 2 pegs. So now, choosing any pegs, you want to pull a band, the loop off that peg. The other side, the other loop goes to this one. So I'm looping this end on this peg, grabbing the other loop off of that 3rd peg, and loop it onto the other side. So it goes to this side because the other end goes to this one. So now you have 3 bands on 2 pegs. You're working down now to 2 pegs. Let's do our last set for our white. So I'm now taking 2 whites and I'm looping it across from the 2 pegs. So that's what you should have. Loop the bottom 3 bands up and over and onto those 2 white pegs. 2 white bands. Push it down, pull it through, taking 2 single blacks. Looping the bottom 2 bands up and over and onto the 2 black bands. The next one, we're doing whites again, so 2 single white bands. Do that twice. Another set of 2 white bands onto the 2 pegs. set of black, taking 2 single black, and you can end wherever you want. I'll do 2 more whites, 2 sets of 2 single bands that are white, and then I'll end on black, some black bands. So that's my last set. For my last one, I'm taking a single black, twist, double it, and I'm looping it on the 2 pegs. The last 2 pegs we're working on, like that, and then pulling the bottom 2 bands onto the single we doubled. Now we're getting the single we doubled onto a hook. That we can tie it off doing a slip knot, and we're going to pull one end, the 2 bands, the 2 loops furthest away from the hook, up, and pulling the other side through it and tying it off. So there's your snake. That's what it should look like so far, and it's about the size of your loom from front to tip. Let's close up the front of the face. There should be 2 bands that's sticking out, kind of like little frills around our head. We're going to put our hook from the body side outwards to the front of the face and putting a hook through those 2 loops. So there should be 5 sets of them, 5 sets of 2 bands. So just go around your face and grabbing those loops. So in the end you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of 2 loops on your hook. And to close up the face, we can use white. I'm pulling my eyes out so I can see it better, but we can fix it once we tie the face off. And you can use whatever band you want to tie the face off. So whatever color you want. I'm doing white because I saw that the milk snake has a white around the mouth. So I'm taking a single white, twist, double, putting my hook, one end on my hook, and I'm going to pull the 5 sets of 2 loops onto the single I just doubled. That's what it should look like. Get it onto my hook like that. And for the tongue, I'm taking a single band. You can use whatever color you want. So now you have the single we just doubled, the 2 loops on your hook. And get your single band on your hook, one side on your hook, one side on your hand, and pull the 2 sets of 2 loops you have on your hook right onto that single black band, or that I'm using for the tongue. And if you want red, you can. And then getting the loops onto your hook. So that's my tongue rubber band, and we're going to tie it off in the slip knot. So just pull one side through the other and tying it off. There's our tongue. You can fix your eyes so it's right. And pull your snake out a little bit, and it should be completely round like that. And if you want, you can make a snake bracelet by putting a C-clip and attaching it together like that. So there's your milk snake, and this is the coral snake. I hope you like them. Thanks for watching.